And good evening, morning, afternoon, everyone, wherever you may be. My name is Jamie Higginbotham. Happy Christmas Eve Eve, at least for those of us here in the United States. This is my own personal... Ooh, have to be careful there. One of them I won't talk about, but the other one you probably know me from is the Tomorrow Channel. Now, on Tomorrow, we really only talk about space and human exploration of the cosmos, but on my own personal channel, we'll talk about anything you want. I'm a pretty big technology geek. We can still talk about space. I do work in aerospace, so I can't talk about anything to do with the company that I work for. Well, I can talk about like my own personal stuff, just not anything that I actually work on. So like emotions and things I can talk about, being excited about something I can talk about, but I can't talk about projects and I can't talk about, any hardware or anything like that. And then I'm also transgender. I began gender transition April 2nd, 2019. I took my first estrogen and testosterone blockers about 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And yeah, the chat room says happy James Webb Space Telescope launch date. I don't think so. I think I think we're still a couple days away. I believe it is around 4:30 a.m. Pacific time. That's like 7:30 a.m. Eastern time for on Christmas Day on December 25th. So that's going to be, what is it, 344 single points of failure? That should be truly interesting. Oh no, Jill says I'm pooping out. Oh no, I'm popping in. Not pooping out, I'm popping in. Hello, Jill. It's good to have you. CERN Blue? I'm not sure how to say that. Hang on, let me pop this out so I can see it. I'm getting older, and so things need to be embiggenated for me. It's lame. Don't get old. That's something that I've learned. Penguin says hello. Good to see you. And yeah. So yeah, also, because I'm a technology nerd, I thought it would be fun to bring a bunch of technology toys. Those go down there now. Oh yeah, I can't... I'm pretty sure that the microphones are working. I can see them working on the VU meters over here, but I've got a Dante routing issue, so... Jill, I'm not trying to pop out any more bigger pants now. I'm not sure what that means. So I brought some toys. As always, we've got my MacBook Air. This is an M1 MacBook Air. I've also got my giant iPad sitting right over here with a keyboard, which makes it basically a laptop. So, like, why would you do that? I don't know. I did it. I actually got a brand new iPad mini, and this is the purple one. And I actually really like it. I like the size. It's a good little unit. I don't know. I imagine that this is what it's kind of like on Star Trek, like the Star Trek pads that they've got on the desk, in TNG at least. Like, this is pretty cool. It's pretty close to that. I like it. Ika, Die Young, Stay Pretty, Blondie song. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going more blonde on December 28th. I brought a 30-second dance party with me. It's currently off. Let me turn it on to... Well, we'll turn it... Yeah, we'll leave it there. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but we've got a 30-second dance party. And then for other technology toys... Hang on, I should move this. Let me be smarter about this. Let's actually close you for now. Let's move you over here. Cool. All right. And then we also have... I've also got standard iPhone Pro. I don't do the Maxes. Like, I like the battery life on them, but they're so freaking huge. I've actually got a Surface Duo 2 of all things. And this is the current, I usually have, like my primary workhorse daily driver, which is my iPhone and has been my iPhone for years. And then I like to have a play phone. I just gave my Galaxy Fold 3 to someone else to play with to get their opinions on it. And he's had it for a little while, and I'm curious to know what he thinks after a little while more. He liked it more than I did, so we'll see. Surface Duo 2, which is interesting. And then I have actually some fun devices. This is one that you probably saw on the air with me. The on delay, going to bed, but hey, I'll watch the video on demand. Oh yeah, absolutely. It should be fun. Should be interesting. Hopefully. And Ika says the mini is about the size I like for reading. Yeah, it's like this really good size. It's like you can use it kind of one-handed. I don't know. It just is a really good size. I wish the screen was a little bit better. I wish this device had some of the technology from the larger devices. Like if this was just ever so slightly bigger, like that, maybe just a little bit, and had, a better display. I'm actually a pretty big fan of Face ID. I've gotten so used to it that it's annoying when I have to use Touch ID. Yeah, this is a nice little device. And then you've seen this on the show. I actually really like this. Hello, Shenandoah Smith. I love my dress. Thank you. Actually, this is what I wore to the Company X holiday party. Although at that time, and I left them at work, they're in the video control room, I actually have a necklace of like Christmas lights that I wore with it because like Christmas trees and whatnot, right? Anyhow. So this is a TCL phone. I can never remember its name. It's their 5G, like S20 or something like that. So it's a general slab, right? But check out the color on that. A couple other things that I really like about this. So I'll say it's not the best camera system in the world. It's good enough. Like if you're just trying to grab pictures of stuff, it's fine. But no camera bump, right? So in a world of these stupid, obnoxious camera bumps, hard to see. Oh, there you go. Right? You can never set them down straight on the desk. It's super annoying. This sits down nicely. Also, it catches your eye. This is like the perfect metallic blue color. They nailed it. It's for anyone who's ever been to like Alaska or, thank you, Brad. It's the TCL 20 Pro 5G. Just rolls right off the tongue. So I'm renaming this device on behalf of TCL. This is the TCL Glacier. And the reason we're calling it the TCL Glacier is if you've ever been to Alaska, if you've ever seen a glacier, this is glacier blue. It is dead on accurate. It is gorgeous. And it draws your attention. If you lay it face down on a table, it catches people's attention. It caught Jared's attention when we were doing the live show. When I go out and about, people are like, hey, good evening, Zeke. Also, good evening, Brad. Also, good evening, Harry. Harry says, hey, I'll just tune in while the afternoon storm rolls over. Christmas. Oh, yeah, it's raining here. I had to walk in. I walked in here with rain. Okay, what else have we got? So we also have, this one's fun and not one I would normally go for. By the way, we don't have to geek out up front, or we don't have to geek out at all, but I have these fun toys to play with, so I figured why not. Don't laugh. It's actually kind of cool. This is a BlackBerry Key 2. This is one of the few Android BlackBerry devices. So it's older. This is an older device. But there's a bit of promise here. And there's something to be said for the slab, like the plain slab with no keyboard on it. The nice thing is, as you're typing away, the keyboard does predictive text. So it says, okay, well, you hit a T first, so you're probably going to hit an H next. And so it makes the target around the H larger, so it's easier for you to hit. Obviously, on a physical keyboard, that's not going to happen. You have to hit the targets perfectly. But once you develop the muscle memory on the physical keyboard, you can crank things out pretty quickly. There are also some pretty nice productivity things that come with this device. I think there's something here, although I don't think it's here with BlackBerry. I think, Harry says physical buttons on the front of the phone. I don't know. Hang on. Let me see if I can get, I have an idea. I have to awkwardly get off camera for a second. I'm going to move camera 1 around and try to get it on the table so you can see stuff. So give me a second here. Hang on. Get everything laid out here. Hang on. Awkward. All right. Okay, now, give me a second. That is camera 1. Oof. I did not make this easy on myself. I should have plugged in the, all right. here's my desk. Oh, look, you can see all the mess of cables back here that we hide with the table. Oh, I got to get back to chat. Okay, so here you go. Here's the all the different devices I've got. Right? You can see the literal physical keyboard on the front. Actually, I think it actually might have. Look at that. Powers up. Eh? Oh, yeah. And here's what's also kind of cool. The space bar. Oh, it needs my... the space bar is the fingerprint reader, which is pretty... Oh, John, I am missing a Zune. Oh, that would be so cool. Oh, they came in brown. I wonder if I still have one. Oh, I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure I still have an original iPod. So, back in the day... Oh, I think Colton may have got chat working. Hang on. It's going to be way easier if he did. Or at a minimum, the chat system reset. Oh, there we go. Okay, so... back in the day, I actually helped to open Apple Store number 4. This is at the Mall of America, and this is before iPhone, and actually this was before iPod as well. Believe it or not, this is how long ago it was. And the store was broken into 2. And when you walked in, on the left side, everything was Pro. And on the right side, everything was Home. And so you would just choose what computers you wanted. And this was in the Power PC era. That's how far back this is. When I worked there, they came one year, I think it was probably the first year I worked there, maybe the second year. They came out with, was I young? I don't remember how old I was. They came out with the iPod, the very, very first iPod. And so they gave iPods to employees as gifts, as their Christmas bonus, which was actually kind of cool. And I'm near positive somewhere I still have that iPod. Now, I don't know that it works, and that's an old school FireWire 400 interface. So that's a device. That is a device, but it was pretty cool. And then I also actually have, let's see here. I have that chat room now, so I can do this. I also actually have an unboxed Key 1. Check that out. Here's another BlackBerry phone. So this is the version before this one. So, I believe I got that right. So this is the newer version, and this is basically the same thing, but it's got less RAM. So yeah, and then we've got the dance party. So, and I have 2 dance parties. One of these is here with me right now, and the other one is in my other video control room for Company X. And so during the last launch, was it before the launch or after the launch? I want to say it was right. It was either when we were setting up or tearing down. I don't remember which direction. One of the crew members was like, "Hey, what's that button do?" And I was like, "Press it, do it, press it, press it." And they hit it, and it. Hang on, I'll do it for you right now. Here. Oh no. Oh, it needs new batteries. But basically, hang on, let's see what. Oh, I don't have AAA's. Those are unique batteries. I've never heard of that company before. Oh, well. Basically, it's 30 seconds of EDM music that plays blaringly loud. It starts off by yelling at you, 30-second dance party. And then it plays 30 seconds of EDM music. And the whole control room just started dancing, which was pretty awesome. I think almost the whole control room. I don't know that the DOP was dancing. Oh, no, he was. I think the whole control room was dancing. It was a nice moment. I enjoyed it. I get one of those, and now they know what it does, and they won't do it again. But like, yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty fun. All right, so yeah, it's much more difficult to do these. So these are interactive shows. You all have to ask questions. It's whatever you want to talk about. Again, any topics on the table, assuming I'm allowed to answer it. When it comes to work stuff, Obviously, you got to be a little bit careful with that stuff. So we tend to shy away from Company X stuff for the most part. Again, I can talk like emotions or like moments, but I can't talk hardware, and I can't talk most things Company X side. I really can't talk about. Ika has. I still have all my old Palm Pilots and Windows CE devices. I don't have it anymore. I used to have an Apple Newton. I also had the handspring. I had the Palm handspring device with the springboard cellular module that went on top. If you remember those were pretty cool. And then let's see here. I want to say Palm absorbed handspring, and once they absorbed handspring, they had the Trio, which was kind of the flippy. It was a Palm phone with a flip thing and a little antenna all integrated into it, and that was pretty cool. Yep. Oh yeah, and Ika also has a Newton. I remember on my Newton, it had what was it? What were they? They were PCMCIA card slots, I think they were, and you could actually get cellular modems for your Newton, and I think it had 2 card slots. And like to this day, the Newton is actually pretty cool. Zeke asks, what's the latest on the telescope launch? That's the James Webb Space Telescope. I had heard conflicting information about weather, although I'm going to assume that the information that Jared had is more correcter than the other information I got, which is they are go for weather at this time. It is December 25th at 4:30-ish a.m. Pacific time, 7:30 a.m.-ish Eastern time. We never did figure out. So we determined it is 344 single points of failure on the James Webb Space Telescope. But what we don't know is if the launch is considered one of those points of failure. And if the launch is considered one of those points of failure, do you consider the critical portions of launch, stage 1 flight, stage 2 flight, and fairing deployment, or even payload deployment, are those individual single points of failure? Or are they all kind of wrapped up into one point of failure? Or are they not even considered in the 344 points of failure for the James Webb Space Telescope? That boggles my mind. 344 single points of failure. Brad says, no need for buttons when I'm around. Wherever I am, it's a dance party. Thanks, Brad. That's great. Well, this is not a dance party. You can hear it trying. Oh, well. Zeke, they should have built 2. Why buy 1? We can build 2 at twice the price. That was contact, right? Yeah. Brad says the telescope falling over a few weeks ago was probably a point of failure. Colton, chat is going. Yes, it is. Thank you. It looks like you kicked the system, and once you kicked it, it seems to work. Ika, you have a bunch of memory cards for your Newton. Largest is 2 megabytes. Yeah, but back in the day, 2 megabytes was so... It was, yeah. I remember, I think the first... So it depends on how you want to look at it. I had an Odyssey as a gaming console. You could kind of consider the Odyssey as a computer as well. It did have a full keyboard. It had this really weird touch keyboard where it used like the static from your fingers on each key to determine what you were hitting. It didn't work very well. This is in the 80s at this point. And then the computer after that we had was a Commodore 64. And that was kind of the family computer. But my first computer was a Pentium 386, and it had the turbo button. I remember the turbo button. I think I just answered it. Sarah in Blue says, I have a tech question. My first PC was a Commodore 64 in 1985. What was mine? Yeah, so technically, the first family computer was a Commodore 64. My own first personal computer was the 386, like Strong Bad. That's exactly correct. And then that computer got a lot of use. I did so much with that computer. I got a DVD recorder on it. I actually remember installing BOS on that. Oh yeah, BIOS. For those of you who go back a long ways, and that thing, BOS was crazy powerful. It could do things, it could do graphic stuff that other systems just struggle to do. And then I think I finally ended with Windows NT. Windows New Technology was the last operating system. I believe that was on the 386. That might have been on my 486. I don't remember. Yeah. Yeah, that computer got a lot of me just playing around and see what different operating systems could do. It also had Windows 3.1. I don't remember if I made it to Windows 95 on that system. I want to say Windows 90. No, it must have, because Windows NT was after 95. You know, NT might have been on the 486 now that I think about it. Anyhow, the 386 definitely had BOS on it. And it also, I had Prodigy. Was the system that we used at that time. And my here, let me nerd out for you for a moment. My ICQ number was 1972247. I wonder if I can still log into that. Oh God, that would be that would be incredible. Oh, I'm not even sure. God, I don't even know what that password would be. And then let's see here. So that was my ICQ number. And then my Prodigy login username. Yeah. I'm not sure I can. Yeah. I don't remember that one. Let's see here. Zeke, I first started programming it on Commodore 64 when I was. Oh, hey, you know what? I have control now. Oh, this is really cool. Hang on. We can do this. We can do this. And now I can go to boop, boop. Hang on, scroll down. All right. I first started programming on a Commodore 64C when I was 9 or 10. 64C. So there was the Commodore 64, the Commodore 128, but I want to say there was one in between. Was that the Commodore 64C? It was slightly upgraded, but not really. It still only had 64K of RAM. And now I'm an engineer. Thanks to everyone thanks to everyone whoever threw that thing in the trash for my mother to find. They threw a Commodore 64 in the trash? Oh, man. The fun thing with the Commodore 64 is it had an expansion port on the back. And you could actually, it was kind of like the old Nintendo, the Nintendo cartridges. You could stick the cartridge in, and it would expand the functionality of the Commodore 64. And so you could add, like, there was an updated BASIC language that I was able to install on that. And, like, I did some literally basic programming. Yeah. Zeke said, this is the 90s. It was already obsolete. That's fair. So I did the Commodore 64. I never had the 128, but they made a 128. And then there was also... so then, and in high school, I moved to the Amiga, mostly because the school had one Amiga, and the Amiga was used for a video toaster, for those of you who are in video production. And that is where my love for live production started, was on a video toaster. Now, don't get me wrong, I hated the video toaster. That thing wanted to crash something fierce. But I saw a lot of potential there, and I was really excited about what it was doing. Let's see here. What else have we got? Brad says, one of my first computer memories is playing Zork on an Osborne. God, I don't remember Zork. I'm not sure I remember an Osborne either. Was that the Radio Shack computer? You're stretching my memory at this point. Let's see here. What else have we got? So anyhow, we also don't have to talk. Actually, hang on one second. There we go. I think that'll be a little better. We also don't have to talk tech necessarily if you don't want to. I'm a fairly open book. I figured, Cariann was out for the evening. I was just kind of sitting at home doing nothing. An excuse to wear the dress that I wore out to the holiday party might be nice. So I figured that would be fun. And I just like chatting with you guys. It's kind of cool because we are, let's see here. I want to say I'm at like 750 subscribers or so. Once I get to 1,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel, I should be able to do some other really cool things. But it'll happen organically. It'll happen when it happens. And I'm going to have to post more than, actually, I was talking to, I want to say it was Brad about this. And let's talk about Star Trek Discovery, shall we? I think I'm going to do this as a series of YouTube shorts, and maybe I'll do it on this particular channel. But so I have gripes with Discovery in that it's fun sci-fi, but it's not very Star Trek. And I think they could have done a better job. Oh, that's not what I want. I want this camera. There we go. I could have looked at the lights on the camera. I think they could have done a better job with story if they had, instead of starting in the past, started with where they're at right now. And so my version of Star Trek Discovery is a little bit different. I think they have some really cool ideas. They actually do have some really cool ideas, and they're definitely getting into their groove now. But they're beholden to those first couple of seasons because that sets your trajectory. And I realize they tried to reset it, but there's only so much you can do. So I think my version of season 1 of Star Trek Discovery starts before the burn. I actually keep the burn. I think that's an interesting idea, but we change a lot about all of it. So Discovery, instead of being a spore system, it's just a standard starship like every other starship. And in season 1, you kind of get to learn a bit about the crew, but the burn hasn't happened yet. And in fact, Discovery isn't just any starship, it's a pretty old starship. It's been around the block a bit, and they're getting ready to retire it. And the first season is really the entire crew reminiscing on stories and like how they're dealing with them all getting scattered as they get reassigned, because at the end of season 1, we're going to retire the Starship Discovery. And we do. The second to last episode, or maybe the last episode, we actually go through the retirement ceremony, and you see everyone's on the starbase, and you see the starship kind of power down. And then it's almost as if it's the end, but then we come back, and our season 1 cliffhanger is burn happens, and active starships who have an engaged warp drive are just obliterated. The thing is, Discovery, which is an older ship which had been decommissioned, had actually been fully powered down. And so Starfleet's completely and totally decimated. And while some of the crew of Discovery had been reassigned and already kind of moved on, most of them, they had just decommissioned Discovery. And so most of them were still nearby. And, now season 2 literally picks up right after the burn. Like, what happened? What's going on? And we need to put the pieces of this thing together. And so we lose some characters in season 1 because we have to be willing to lose characters to the burn, because that's how that would have happened. And then season 2 picks up. We start going through them putting the pieces back together. At this point, they don't have very many starships left because most of them were destroyed in the burn. And so they spin Discovery back up. The question is, will it happen again? Is it safe to do this? So that's kind of season 2 of them grappling with, like, what do we do? How do we... And then going out and trying to find survivors or anything else and put Starfleet back together. Season 3... let's see here. I think season 3 was... I've got a long text thread on this. I want to say season 3 was a little bit more of the same, although we start entering... Season 3 is kind of the final fallout of, like, the fall of the Federation and how everything starts to scatter. Then what we do is we kind of do a time jump for seasons 4 and forward, but we're not doing time travel. What we're doing is we're jumping ahead in time so that it's the end of the life for the initial crew members that were there for the burn, and their kids are taking over at this point, and everyone's still trying to figure out what happened with the burn. But in addition, they've realized that we need a new propulsion technology, because if they don't know, still no one knows what happened, and they don't know that this is going to happen again. And this is actually where the spore drive gets introduced. So now we've got a spore drive that allows us to, or at least we've got the beginnings of a spore drive that we're trying to figure out. And that's like season 4 of us figuring out the spore drive, having issues with the spore drive and how all of that goes. And then we get into, cool, we've got a spore drive, now we can travel. We're starting to put pieces back together. We're starting to rebuild the Federation at this point. But because the spore drive enables, Nathan, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm invested in it. So I'm talking about how I would do Star Trek Discovery as opposed to how they did Star Trek Discovery. Also, hi, Nathan. Also, hello, Robert, and Merry Christmas. Anyhow, that's the gist of it. It goes on, and basically it ends up being a multi-year arc where it has a purpose. It has, like, you've got the individual stories, so it's episodic, but so it's both episodic and serial in that you can watch each individual episode, but there is a serial overarching storyline that ties all of it back together over multiple years. I think that would have been a much more fun idea for Discovery, and it doesn't. They're no longer beholden to like things that are happening in the past, so they can reinvent new big bads, and that's how they continue with season 5 forward. Is now we've got a spore drive, we're rebuilding the Federation, but this opens up a whole new method of travel that now they can go much further than before. So this thing that seemed like it was really, really awful, and it was really, really awful, could actually open up even more travel and even more opportunities for everyone. Yeah, and Robert says it's finally just starting to find its place and feel like most of it has taken a few seasons. Yeah, it is. It's starting to find its place. I'm enjoying it a lot more now. Having said that, like, that's my idea for how I would do Discovery, is I would have skipped the whole Klingon thing, skip the alternate universes thing. Don't do those tropes. Like, those are old, and just stay in the future. Start in the future and start right before the burn, and then show us what happens. Show us the fall of the Federation, right? Wouldn't you want to watch that? The fall of the Federation. Every great empire falls. Federation's going to fall too. Show us that. That'd be really cool. Maddie says, hang on, let's see if we can, let's go back to, there we go. And go back over here. Maddie says, I love your top and hi. Also, hello, Maddie. And I kind of mentioned this before, but Robert said it's finally starting to find its place and feel like most others have taken a few seasons. Yeah, that is a weird ism with Star Trek, right? Like, Next Generation first season wasn't super great either. It was all sorts of awkward, right? Cerulean Blue. I'm one of those who has loved the ride the whole time. I don't have many complaints about Disco other than wanting more bottle episodes and more attention paid to the bridge crew. Last episode rocked. I'm halfway through the last episode, and then I actually came here, so I'll probably... I've been using Star Trek Lower Decks and Star Trek Discovery as dilation material because dilation owns my life right now. It takes so much time. It's funny, Zeke, I actually disagree. I feel like they're not putting much effort into the latest episodes. I'm watching it, though. I feel like their later episodes, the one they're doing right now, are better than where they started. Much, much better. I actually am enjoying... Oh, really? So... I hated hearing that they forced Franks to keep the camera moving this last episode. He didn't want to make us motion sick, but they forced him to. That's stupid. Don't force directors to... Yeah. Maddie, we're finally starting to have a captain of a ship. And this is where the Michael Burnham, like, Discovery has always been about Michael Burnham, and that's been weird because usually Star Trek is kind of about the captain and their crew, but Michael Burnham wasn't a captain. So placing Michael Burnham in the captain's chair now feels like giving her the amount of attention we're giving her makes sense. Like, okay, this is starting to fall into place. But seasons 1, 2, 1 and 2, God, I don't even know what season we're on. Are we on 3 at this point? Yep. Enterprise didn't even have Star Trek in the title until season 3. You know, I had a hard time with Enterprise as well. I never got into Enterprise. I wanted to, but I don't know. I guess maybe my issue is that with Star Trek, they should keep looking forward and stop going backward. So, yeah. Oh, Logan. As a nerd, I find it so daunting getting into Star Trek. I've seen most recent 3 movies, but I'm not sure what to watch next. So I actually do not like the J.J. Abrams movies. I think they are stylistically gorgeous. I love the ships. I absolutely love and adore the bridge of the Enterprise in the J.J. Abrams. I forget what they're calling that alternate timeline. Like the Kremlin. It's not Kremlin. It's the, what is the name of the J.J. Abrams timeline? Help me out, chat room. I feel like a terrible Star Trek nerd. Whatever. Kelvin. Thank you. That was bothering me. Kremlin. I got the cuss sound. Anyhow, I don't like the Kelvin timeline. In fact, I was, for dilation material, using those new movies because I, kind of didn't remember them as just, something to watch and just waste time. And I found that I was bored. It's not Star Trek, I don't think. I think they're very, very beautiful, but yeah, they're not my favorite. I will say some of my favorite Star Trek episodes. So some of my favorite Star Trek movies, let's start there. 246. I'm not sure which one. I think probably 2. I think Wrath of Khan might be my favorite. Wrath of Khan is pretty awesome, which is funny because basically J.J. Abrams remade it, but like worse. I like Wrath of Khan. 4 is fun because it's campy, and Captain, I have whale song. Like it's so ridiculous. And I don't like sci-fi that does time travel, which I know is exactly what Star Trek 4 did. But they didn't take themselves too seriously. They had fun. It was a fun Star Trek. I really enjoyed it. They knew who they were. I like that. I actually did enjoy 6. I know a lot of people, which is Undiscovered Country. I'm near positive that's 6. Undiscovered Country is the one. Like, it's an interesting look. Yeah. Wait, Logan's saying it's not a spoof. I remember seeing it when I was 8. What's not a spoof? Oh, Brad, and this is another great moment in Star Trek 4. I loved when Scotty tried using the computer mouse. Hello, computer. How quaint. Yeah. I was very lucky. The first Star Trek I was ever exposed to was Star Trek 5. It only got better from there. That is arguable. I think, again, Star Trek 2 is very, very strong. I would recommend that. I could skip 3, Search for Spock. Not my favorite. Although it did allow them to lead into 4, which is kind of nice. So I like that they built from 3 into 4. So they had this nice transition from... So 1 is kind of an island unto itself. But, there are moments in 1 that are fun and that I use as a joke even in the control room to this day. So, like, I'll mention V'ger from time to time in the video control rooms, right? Like, most nerds know what I'm talking about when I say V'ger, especially space nerds. So, yeah. Logan, I thought Star Trek 4 was like Spaceballs, but Star Trek. No. No, that's an actual legitimate Star Trek movie, right? Right? But also I love Spaceballs. I also love Galaxy Quest. Galaxy Quest is one of my favorite movies because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It is fun and campy sci-fi. I want to have fun. I want to have fun with my sci-fi. It doesn't need all sci-fi doesn't need to be dark. And Star Trek shouldn't be dark sci-fi. I have other places I can get dark sci-fi. It can have dark moments, but it should overall be fun and optimistic and exciting. Oh, yeah, Zeke, this is another thing. When they make the next Star Trek movie, it's going to be confusing. Well, here's the thing, though. Part of why we had to build the Kelvin timeline is because Star Trek got fractured between Paramount, Viacom, and CBS, which and who had licenses to what and who could use what, which is part of the reason why Discovery has really weird uniforms, right? Like everything was Star Trek, but not quite because they weren't licensed to use certain parts of blah, blah, blah. As I understand it, all of that has merged back together. So Viacom, Paramount, and CBS all are kind of like one big happy family again, I guess. And someone may know this better than I, but I think that changes the licensing structure of everything. And I think it allows them to start making movies back on the Prime timeline. And what I would love to see them do is basically get rid of the Kelvin timeline, be like, oh, that was just a dream. Sorry. Those didn't exist. And go back to Prime and actually start making some real Star Trek again. Maddie, this is a great question. Great question. How about the Orville? Love the Orville. Once they stopped making fart and poop jokes, I really started enjoying it. Like they had to find their voice, and it didn't take them very long to find their voice. I think Orville is more Star Trek than Discovery is. Zeke says, I would have wanted a Voyager movie, but I think it's too late. Yeah, it's probably too late. I think what they really need. So right now, I think the best Star Trek on the air right now is Lower Decks, and which again is another them not taking themselves too seriously, but it's fun. It's kind of teaches you stories sometimes, or like moral lessons sometimes, kind of like loosely. It's entertaining and engaging. Oh, Marty, Orville's way too cringy for me. Well, it depends. Like early in season 1, it's definitely cringy. It's very cringy, and it's definitely like Family Guy in space. They figure it out. They get past it, which is really nice. Let's see here. Let's see here. Maddie says, I have to agree, it took a few to get there, but I keep thinking back to Orville episodes and mixing it up with actual Star Trek episodes and arcs. Exactly. That's kind of like, it feels very Star Trek without actually being Star Trek. It has that kind of like, we're trying to show you where society is maybe kind of going astray, but without actually putting too fine a point on it. Although there was one episode where they put a very fine point on it and they were like, poke. Yep. Yeah, Zeke, absolutely love Dex. Packed episodic episodes, true to Star Trek, but with good amount of comedy. Absolutely. Love best Star Trek on the air right now, which is funny because I would have to assume, maybe incorrectly, is probably the lowest cost Star Trek for them to produce. So arguably, I don't know this, but most people I know would say yes, Lower Decks is the best Star Trek on the air right now. And if that's the case, then why are they investing so much in Discovery? Make Discovery more like Lower Decks. Don't make it Lower Decks, though. Lower Decks is its own thing. It has its own place. Just know what your place is. Danny, listen to me right now. You need to go to bed. I don't know why you're still up. You need to listen to Maddie. You need to go to bed. It is way too late for you to be awake. Go to bed. That work? I'm I'm glad I could help. Robert says, let's see here. That's because McFarlane loves old Trek and make Orville as a love letter. Yeah, exactly. Like you can tell that they absolutely love like Star Trek. This is the thing. So when you could tell that J.J. Abrams wasn't a Trekkie, right? He just didn't get it when he took over the movies, and he turned Star Trek into Star Wars, which is fine, but Star Trek isn't Star Wars. They're different things. Star Trek is not space opera, space wrestling, space whatever. Yeah. Oh, actually, I didn't notice that. Speaking of Enterprise and Orville, McFarlane was in an episode of Enterprise. I'll have to go back and look. He says, unfortunately, McFarlane loves him. You know what? But I feel like he's earned it. He's done a better job with Star Trek than Star Trek has, with the exception of Lower Decks. I think Lower Decks is more Star Trek than Orville is, but Orville is more Star Trek than Discovery. We need a Star Trek. we need a chart. Who's more like a Venn diagram of sorts? Space opera. Well, yeah. I mean, Star Wars is kind of space opera, right? It's like it's not really. Star Wars isn't really sci-fi. It's more. I don't know. Okay, Harry says, hear me out. Star Trek, but with alien. Okay, hang on. So, let's see here. I love Lower Decks, kind of made my mind a purple hair, to be honest. And then Brad says, purple hair, yes. So here's the thing. I'm going back in for more hair coloring this next week. I think it's next Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm going in on the 28th, whenever that is. Tuesday. And I've got like a full day session there. Now, my original plan was to go more blonde, but should I go purple instead of blonde? Right? Or like, can I not pull off purple? I don't know. All right, so Logan says purple. Brad says team purple hair. Should I go purple or should I go like brighter blonde and then go purple later? Obviously purple, Logan is saying. But why? Like why? Like why obviously purple? Harry says yes, purple. Dylan says purple. Oops. Robert also said and yes, purple. Maybe Brad says maybe blonde with purple highlights. And Logan, because it's cool and makes you look cool and fabulous. Yeah, so this is kind of how do I say that? Shenandoah Smith? I hope I said that correctly. Try platinum first and then go with the color. It's harder to do the reverse. Absolutely. It's kind of what I was thinking. Like, this is kind of me. I would say this is me like a dirty blonde. It's definitely more blonde than it was before, but like. So this is an interesting comment. Adam Savage made a good comment. Star Wars is dystopian. Star Trek is utopian. That's the difference. Maybe. Logan says, back to hair. Sounds like a better idea. Go more blonde than purple, but purple eventually. Well, I mean, then why not just go purple? A reddish purple. I mean, isn't that kind of what purple is? You can't have purple without red in your purple. But purple eventually. I mean, yeah. I don't know. And that's the other thing is I can, so Logan, to experiment with blonde then purple. So maybe that's what I do is maybe I go blonde, like finish out the blonde just to see what it looks like, see if I like it. And then And then after that, I can very easily add purple to blonde, right? Like purple is going to absorb into blonde something fierce. So I can just go in and get the roots touched up and then also do purple. And I can either choose to do like a peekaboo or just purple highlights. I think I've got enough hair for a peekaboo now. I think I need a little bit more. Oh no, I got 6 months left before I think I could do a proper peekaboo. Yeah. And actually, Brad, this is an interesting point. What's the worst case scenario? It's just hair. I can just dye it back another color. Zeke, actually, so we've been talking about sci-fi stuff. How about blue like the girl in Matrix Resurrection? I actually really liked her hair. I don't think I can pull off my hair being that small, mostly because I'm trying to make sure my features are feminized, and I worry that doing short hair on a skull of my shape will not feminize me. So I think I could potentially do blue or something like that. Okay, so I was gonna, no spoilers, but I will say there are a couple of things that got me in the movie, and one of them is a concept of, I guess I'll word it as, make a choice, but really you don't have a choice, right? And that really resonated with me, and it actually took me out of the movie a little bit, because it hit me pretty hard, and it hit me pretty hard, and then I would contemplate that and be like, I should be focusing on the movie, and then I get back into the movie, and then they would say it again. I'm like, and then it just ripped me right back out, and yeah. And it's the parallel is to my own personal transition, where especially, so the way I word this is, you don't choose to be transgender. I didn't choose to be transgender. You don't get a choice in that, but you can choose, or there's seemingly a choice that you can do something about it. So, you all know my story. When I told Cariann, I hadn't actually decided if I was going to transition or not. She was the first person other than myself that I had told. And so at that moment in time, I didn't actually know that I would do anything. Doing nothing was absolutely on the table. If I had told her and she reacted negatively, I would have been like, ha ha ha, just kidding. And never brought it up again, never done anything about it. And I don't know how life would have been for me. And so I felt like I had a choice, but I can't fathom making a different decision. Like, did I really actually have a choice? Or is this something where maybe I had a choice, but ultimately, no, I would have ended up doing this eventually. Maybe I would have been 60 when I did it, but it eats away at you. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like a weight gets added to you every year. I didn't admit it to myself for like 20 plus years, and I wasn't unhappy. I was happy, but I had this weight that I was carrying with me everywhere. And every year that weight got a little bit heavier and a little bit heavier. There's a point where you just cannot carry that weight anymore. And so I had never actually questioned whether I had a choice in this or not. I just assumed I did. I just assumed that, yes, as I said, my thought was, I didn't choose to be transgender, but I chose to transition. But after hearing that got me to thinking, is that correct? Is that real? I don't know the answer. It just made me think. Yeah, and Ika, this is an interesting comment. So for some of us, there is no choice in transition. It's transition or die. So I would the way I would normally, I think, argue against this is that is actually a choice. It's just a very easy choice, right? You don't want this, so then obviously it's this. But this, if the moment you use the word or, I assume this was supposed to be an or. The moment you use the word or, it's choice A or choice B. Now, just because choice A is the obvious answer, would you prefer have $1,000 or get stabbed in your hand? Well, it's a choice, but it's a really simple and easy choice. The thing is, what I don't think people realize is this is a shitty choice. Transitioning isn't fun. It makes everything better, but the fact that it was broken in the first place sucks. Yeah. There is more than physical death. There's also death of self. Absolutely. And so, going back to your original, but it is still a choice. You're choosing to transition or choosing to have death of personal stuff. Again, just because it's an easy choice doesn't mean that there isn't a choice there. But yeah, arguably this is not an easy choice. I'm saying that just because it's an easy choice, making it sound like this is an easy choice. I don't think that this necessarily is. This is terrifying. So, this isn't quite the right comment to reference either. I would say physical transition or just social transition or any form of gender transition is absolutely terrifying. And depending upon what you decide to do and how far you decide to go, it's also physically very painful. It is emotionally excruciatingly draining. It is embarrassing for years when you go out. So, I'm talking about myself at this point. I don't pretend to speak for anyone else. I'm just saying that this is what it was like for me. And I knew a lot of this going in. I knew that this would be painful. I knew that this would be embarrassing. I knew that this would not be an overnight thing. I also knew it would be expensive, right? I knew all of these things. For me, once Cariann was on board, the delight of the idea, just the fact that I just felt so much weight slide off my shoulders. I was like, oh, that is a relief. I want to remove more of this weight, and I want to do it quickly. So that made that a very easy choice for me. But again, going back to it, was it really a choice, or was I just kicking the can down the road? Would I have always chosen to transition, just maybe at a later time? I don't know the answer to that. I think that is something that that's what The Matrix brought up in my mind. So we'll talk about The Matrix in a moment without spoilers. So the choice is then transition, which is painful, expensive, embarrassing, difficult, possible loss of loved ones and families in your personal life, meaning that they will disown you. So lots of downsides and negatives and horribleness that comes with transition. Or, as you put it, and I think this is a great way to say, death of self, because this is who I am. And I don't have an issue with Ben. Ben helped lead me here, but I'm so much more comfortable now. So I wouldn't have actually been able to get to self. So self would have never been born. That's a horrible decision. Anyhow, I've rambled on about this for way too long. When I walked out of the movie theater, I was like, not my favorite Matrix movie. It was fun. I did that. It felt like It felt like yet another Star Wars reboot, right? Where it's the exact same thing that they've rehashed. I enjoyed parts of it where they were kind of introspective and making fun of themselves. I enjoyed that bit quite a lot. I thought that was actually really well done. And then they got into kind of the normal Matrix-y stuff, and I was like, eh. However, I never really had this type of conversation about any Star Wars movie. I didn't come back on the show or my personal channel or anything else. And actually, sorry, I'm running over expensive headsets. Yeah. I didn't come back and have thoughts that impacted my life from any of those movies. So, yeah, Zeke said, I had a hard time to stop and start it 3 times and had a hard time holding my attention. Actually, I had a similar issue, but mostly because they kept distracting me with things that like were hating me, like cutting me to my core. I'm like, oh, and I don't know if they intended to do that or if it was just like the mental place I was in at that moment. But like, this movie got me thinking about myself, which Star Wars doesn't do. No, other movies don't do. And so it's difficult because it's not the original Matrix movie. It is not the same. It is not super engaging, and I'm not sure it is my favorite movie. If I were to review it, my review would be, yep, it's a movie. But here I am talking about it and talking about sense of self and my gender transition and what makes sense. The beginning certainly did feel like a parody. I think it was designed to. Logan, was it worth seeing? Yeah, I think so. I think I would recommend people watch it. But don't watch it and expect it to be the first Matrix movie broke my brain, right? I had never seen anything like that. The story was phenomenal. The bullet time was phenomenal. Like it was crazy. This one did not break my brain. But it got me to reflect internally, which none of the other movies did. So take that for what it's worth. Matrix 4 it's out in the theater and, well, is that in the US? Or is it maybe not in the... I'll have to, if it's on HBO Max. Oh, yeah. You should absolutely watch the first Matrix movie. Also, I like that purple hair on you, on your icon, hang on, let me make that go. Let me ambigonate that. It's in here somewhere. There we go. Right? I like that. I think maybe I should go purple. That's a nice look. I don't know. Yep. All right, let's go back to... Oh, yeah. The camera work of the original was phenomenal. Everything about the original was groundbreaking. Dylan says, so Dylan, I want to go see it, but COVID's really bad in my area. Well, I mean, everywhere. It sounds like if you've got HBO Max, you can just watch it on HBO. No need to go out to the theater. Nathan, so man, maybe I should go purple. Purple is a nice hair color. I had it a few months and loved it. 10 out of 10 would recommend. God, maybe, because the thing is, okay. Tell me why I'm wrong, internet. I am 43 years old and I feel like I'm breaking social norms already and I'm doing all of the things, right? And I'm kind of trying to just fit in. I'm not trying to stand out. I'm just trying to be heads down and just, right? I'm not sitting out there. Anyhow. I'm 43. I'll be 44 in January. So, yeah, I'm old. So, right, exactly. I'm 43. Purple hair seems like something that I could do if I was younger or older. But I feel like I'm in that weird murky, a decade and a half older before I could actually pull off purple hair. Or am I just crazy? I thought you were younger. Wow. Well, this is what facial feminization surgery does. 2 things. First, I had testosterone coursing through my veins for the first 40 years of my life, right? So the thing with testosterone is you end up with thicker skin. This is why men's faces tend to age better than women's faces. In general, broad strokes. The thin is literally thicker. And so as wrinkles and gravity forms, there's more material to hold that up and prevent drooping of the skin, which is something that happens with age. So I've had the benefit of thicker, rougher skin for most of my life. Now that I've been on estrogen and now that I no longer have a testosterone generation system, my skin has absolutely gotten softer and thinner by a large margin. It feels exactly like a cis woman's skin would feel. It's much, much softer. So that's part A. So I didn't have that same, I had a lot more to, it's just not as droopy just because blah, blah. The second bit is I had facial feminization surgery. And in that, what they do, if you get freaked out by surgical procedures, you may want to not listen right now. They basically, because I'm going to describe this to everyone, they create an incision at the top here, and they bring it all the way down to the ears. So I actually have a scar. Now it's back behind the hairline. The scar's up here, goes all the way down to the ears, and they pull back the face. They shave down the upper parts of the brow bone to smooth that out. As men go through puberty, there's extra brow ridge that gets formed on the bone, and you can just shave that back down. Women generally don't have as much of that. When they pull the hairline back up, what they can do, because I actually had a very male kind of M shape in my hair, right? So it kind of came back like this. So what they can do is they can actually pull your hair or pull your hairline forward and reduce that gap to give you a more feminized hairline, which makes your scalp very, very tough, which they did. But the side effect of that is that now my skin has been pulled taut. And so again, any of that drooping of the skin is basically like I effectively had a facelift. I got a free facelift out of the deal. So I'm not complaining. So it's oh, hey, you don't look 43. It's not exactly fair, right? I had a facelift and I had testosterone for 40-ish years, 40 and a half. So yeah, exactly. Also, I try to take care of my skin as best I can. So, Marty and Martian, men can have a very defined brow, but you know what? Actually, women can too. It's just considered more of a masculine trait. Oh, I just brought a bunch. So, Nathan says, "What's with all the phones?" I don't know if you explained it yet. Yeah, that was early on in the show. I didn't know what we were going to talk about today, and I figured, if you guys wanted to talk about technology, I have a boatload of phones sitting here. And this is the 30-second dance party, but it's not working. Aww. So no dance parties for us. This is a BlackBerry. This is one of the very few Android BlackBerries. Hang on. We'll jump back to boop. Nope, this camera. You get a bunch of leg. Here you go. Right? So Android BlackBerry. It's kind of cool. Has an actual physical keyboard on it. And I'm this is an older device, but it's not, I think at least the way I use my device, I need it for business. I type a lot on my devices. I'm shooting out text messages or emails or calendar invites. And I'm doing a lot of actual work on my device. And so, yeah, great phones are fun and all, but or not phones, cameras. Great cameras are fun and all, and I definitely use my camera from time to time. But you know what I do the most on my phone is type. And so, by a large margin, 80% of what I do on my phone is typing. And so I want my typing experience to be phenomenal. And I'm not convinced that this is actually this keyboard is that phenomenal typing experience, but it's an interesting step. Or backwards look forward step. I don't know how to actually describe that. Oh, is that the Windows folding phone? Yeah. So this one, let's go back. This is the Surface Duo 2. Make sure that there's nothing. Yep. All right. So this is the Surface phone. This is the Duo 2. Sorry, gotta actually talk into the microphone, right? And it's actually kind of cool. So what I'll do during Company X launches with this one is on this screen, I'll put YouTube, and on this screen, I'll put Reddit. I'll tip it, rotate it like that, and set it on my desk. So then I actually use Reddit Stream. And so I'm watching Reddit comments go by to make sure that everything is looking as it should and no one's complaining about the stream and there are no potential issues. But then down here on this screen, I'm actually watching it, and I keep this on cellular so that it's actually not even on the company network at all, which allows me to understand what the user experience actually is on a mobile device, because more than 50% of people are watching on mobile. And so I want to make sure that the mobile experience is really, really great. This device is a really interesting device. This is, I think, for the folding concepts, one of my more favorite folding concepts. There are a couple of things that I hate. I don't like camera bumps in general, and this has a pretty nasty one on it. Like the old generation did not have a camera bump. It's also a little too wide. I wish it was thinner. Like this is just a little bit too big in my hands. But it is an interesting concept. I don't think I would ever recommend this to someone, nor have I ever made it my daily driver. But it is an interesting device. My favorite Android phone on the table is actually this one. Brad, what is this again? This is the TCL. This is the TCL Glacier. That's what this phone is called. And there are a few things I like about this phone. First off, this is not a very expensive phone. But it's got a pretty decent screen. I want to say it's an AMOLED screen. Now, it is only 60 hertz, so if you're looking for that really fluid experience, you're not going to get it. But no camera bump, right? So I can actually set this down this way, and right? Because again, the cameras are important, but they're not that important. The cameras are fine. It's the TCL 20 Pro 5G. Yeah, it's the TCL Glacier. The blue is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. I swear to you, it's like if you've ever been to Alaska and you've seen a glacier, this is the color of water in a glacier. It is phenomenal. And as long as you don't put a case on it, Brad, people, when they walk by, actually notice this and will actually be like, oh my God, that's a gorgeous phone. Here's the thing about this phone that will blow you away. It's like $400. It is not that expensive, and it's a 5G phone. It's got all of the G's in it. So, yeah, actually, and it has good hand feel, right? So this has not great hand feel. This is actually pretty decent hand feel, but it's a little squared off. The way they rounded this, it makes it super easy to hold and have good gription on it without having too much issue. Brad said, I've been giving Brad endless crap. So Brad has a TCL Glacier phone, and he covers it. He puts a case on it. To be fair, it was a clear case at first, so at least you could kind of see through. And the phone comes with a case in the box, which it should not, because that encourages you to put a case on your phone. And the last thing you should be doing with this phone is putting it in a case. This is one of the most beautiful phones on the market today. Why would you put a case on it? Logan, so I generally don't like curved edges on phones either, but they do really good rejection on this one. I did turn the rejection all the way up, so my rejection levels are like all the way back up to where the screen squares off. So as I'm holding it in my hands, none of the sides are triggering touches. They did a really good job with that. There are a couple of other really nice things. And actually, he showed me, this is pretty cool. There's a button on the side that you can program to be whatever you want. Hang on, let me actually... Oh, did I? Womp womp. So pretend for a moment that this phone had power. There's a button on the side, and you can program it to do, I want to say, single tap. You'll have to remind me, Brad, what all the things you can do, but because I only looked at it for a moment. It was like single tap, double tap, and long tap. But what you can do is for like long tap, you can press and hold it and have it turn on your light on your phone. How often have you used the light on the back of your phone to find your keys or something, or looking under, you drop something under a couch and you want to use the light on your phone to look? Yeah, you can launch any app or function, and which I was like, okay, that's neat. Until he showed me, he was like, look, you can use it to launch the light. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. That's so cool. Anyhow, that's my favorite Android phone on the table. I've got, this is my daily driver. This is an iPhone 13 Pro, just regular old iPhone 13 Pro. This has the embiggenated storage because I do ProRes video on this thing. So yeah. Maddie says that feature's been around on rooted phones since older versions. Yes, but this is not a rooted phone. It just comes out of the box, and it's a specific button just for that task. So I don't have to give something else up to have that function. Yeah. And then I've also got an iPad Pro underneath the MacBook, and then I've actually got the new iPad Mini. This is the purple one, which will maybe soon match my hair color. I guess we'll find out soon. I like this one because it's kind of like a dusty purple. It's a really like subdued purple. I think that's actually pretty cool. I think this is I think I like this in this size simply because it does remind me of the Star Trek pad. I think it's just a really great size. I wish it was just a pinch bigger. I wish it had Face ID, not just Touch ID, and a slightly better screen. But other than that, like, this is a fun device to play on. Anyhow, there you go. Yeah, Dylan says the camera bumps, I'm going to argue against this a little bit. The camera bumps are basically because you need distance between the lens and the sensor. So that's fine, except that what they're not doing, you can bury these sensors further down into the phone and not utilize any, like, move it right up against the screen. I think they have more leeway to work in these devices than they're giving us. I think they can bury these cameras much better than what they're doing right now. This is certainly an easy way of doing it. Getting rid of these bumps is really, really hard. But I would prefer a slightly lesser camera with no bump than I would a camera with a bump. Because again, what do I use? I'm not using this to take photos every moment of every day. And yeah, it's nice to have a really great camera, but what do you mostly do on your phone? Type. So I want a really great screen and a really great typing experience. The camera is tertiary. Logan, this is really great. Walking around at school holding my iPad one-handed makes me feel like an astronaut in 2179 on their way to work. A little bit, right? A little bit. And I think my gripe with the iPad I have under here, hang on. Let's get this plugged into the TCL phone. Boop. You have to say boop when you plug it in. And we'll get rid of that's not working anyhow. The gripe I have with this is twofold. First, I got the stupid keyboard, which was stupid because like now it's just a laptop. But second, this version is simply too big. I will never buy an iPad this size again. I think I got the bigger one in this edition because I had the more better screen. No, Brad says, promise the battery isn't that bad. No. I definitely get like full day's usage out of this phone. I haven't had it on the charger. Like, I was surprised that the BlackBerry powered up. This is just simply too big. And I think this is a much better size. It's also too heavy. It's a better weight too. Like, it's a great device. I like it, but not in this size. I think maybe the best size is the one in between these two. Anyhow. So that's funny because I actually dislike that. So Nathan says, we have those iPads at work with those handles in the back. Maybe it's just my distaste or disdain for the cases. but I don't like the iPads in those cases. And I get it, the handles make it easier to hold, but like, it's not very future. It's not very Star Trek. Get rid of the case. Ika, I want a display that rolls up into a tube. Absolutely. Right? I don't even, what I really want is like, I want, we've seen some of those concept phones. I want something like this, right? That then when I want it in tablet mode, just rolls out and becomes a tablet. And then when I'm done with it, it rolls back in and becomes a phone. Maybe a phone that's ever so slightly thinner than the iPhone. I feel like this is just a little bit too thick. Yeah, roll up tablet. Exactly. That's exactly what I want. I think that would be, I think that's better than the Fold. Yeah, I like the Fold is neat, but it's the screen is too thin and too tall when it's closed, and the screen is too wide to type on when it's open. So again, what do I use my phone for 80% of the time? Typing and writing things. The typing and writing experience on a Fold is one of the worst of everything on this table. So, but at the same time, like if I'm doing like calendar view and trying to figure out when I need to look at things, the Fold experience there is actually pretty nice if you open it up. But then again, so is the Surface experience. And I don't know, I feel like the keyboard experience on the Surface is a little more just regular, common, like it's the same. Brad is saying iPhone 6 years ago. I don't know what that was referring to. Yes, iPhone 6 years ago. This would be fun. If you were ever time traveling, you could get a scroll case for your iPhone and make it look like your iPhone is a scroll. I don't think I'm reading that correctly, but that's how I interpreted it. Oh, Logan saying 2015. iPhones today are too big, although they've got the iPhone 13 mini. That I think was a really nice size. I had the iPhone 12 mini, but I couldn't get it through a full day on the battery on that thing. And I love the size. The keyboard accuracy was really great. It was not quite as good as what I've got now, but it was good. But like I couldn't get through a full day. I couldn't actually use the phone all day long. Yeah. But apparently the iPhone 13 mini has much, much better battery life. If they could get the iPhone 13 mini to have battery life that would last the whole day, I would probably choose that. I know everyone wants these big phablets and like huge phones, but like, I don't. I just want something I can type on really, really well and crank messages out really, really well. Oh my God. I do. Do you guys remember projector phones where they would project well, there were two types. But there was basically one that had like you would set it down, it had like a laser keyboard that would project on the desk, and you would type and do the Magic Leap IR technology, I think, or the broken, yeah. Oh, they're having a party next door. That's fun. Yeah, there are other wacky things. Remember the red hydrogen phone? I was so excited for that, not for any of the stupid stuff they put in it. Like, that project was mismanaged from the beginning. They missed... There are some people who... As I was just saying, the camera's not important. Like, it's important, but you're not generally buying a phone for its camera. You're buying it for its screen, its ability to write stuff, and then its camera. Like, that's the third thing you buy it for. There are some people, though, who buy it for the camera first, especially DOPs and videographers. And the red hydrogen had the promise of being able to integrate into the red DCMA or DMC, whatever their system. DCMA is the Digital Copyright Millennium Act, whatever. It's the... God, this is going to bother me. Red.com. What is it? it is. All right, let's go into accessories. DSMC, there we go. The red DSMC architecture. So basically, well, I'm making this way longer than it needs to be. The short version is they promised putting a red sensor into a camera and the ability for you to put actual glass on your camera and use it as an actual cinema camera. Something that you could shoot a movie on, literally a movie. That was going to be incredible. Now, you probably wouldn't have, yeah, exactly. It had pins for accessories that never came. You probably wouldn't have your camera or your phone always with like camera glass sitting on it. That would be crazy. But you had the ability to do that. And like I was really excited about that because there are some really cool things I could do with a cinema camera that has cellular connection on it. Right? Think about that. Think about what the world they were about to open was phenomenal. Except that instead of focusing on that, the thing that was going to change everything, the thing that cinematographers and movie makers wanted, the thing that every content creator ever would have just gone gaga over, instead of doing that, they focused on a 3D screen that didn't work and 3D camera technology because who cares? Because we haven't learned our lesson over the past 40 or 50 years that no one wants to see this crap in 3D, right? We want great stories. It doesn't need to be 3D. We don't need gimmicks like that. We want great stories. Tell us a great story, right? And so they focused on all of that and they never built the actual sensor, the actual full camera sensor into their phone. And so the thing that was going to change the way I did everything at Company X never got built. I would have used it in my personal life. I would have used it on this show. Can you imagine having a cinema camera in your pocket? Can you imagine what those rigs would look like? Can you imagine how that would change movies and content creation and YouTube videos? Like, yeah, exactly, Logan. It ended up being an overpriced DS because they focused on all of the wrong things. Like, give it a really great onboard camera, maybe not red quality sensor, but like really great. But then also give me the ability to have that red sensor on there so that I can just pop a lens on there and still use my phone, still use it like a regular, but then have the full power of a red sensor attached to my phone, which also has cellular and Wi-Fi connection. No one's built that to this day. No one has built that. They're getting closer with some of these cameras where they've got like, you can tether them via Ethernet and whatnot. And that's fine. It's not the same. It doesn't open up the same possibilities. They just aren't red sensors. Yeah, red sensors are huge, which is why this was also, it would be one hell of a camera. But when you're buying that camera, you're buying it. When you're buying that phone, you're buying it for the camera. And so a camera bump is fine because that's its primary purpose. Its primary purpose isn't shooting. You don't use that as a daily driver. You probably won't use it. I would probably have used it as a daily driver, but most people would not have used it as a daily driver. What about cooling? Wouldn't that sensor get really hot? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe this is why they never came out with it, but that was the promise of the phone, and that's what made that phone exciting. And they never did that. They focused on 3D instead, and no one cared, and no one bought the thing, and it was stupid, and it was under spec'd, and it was like they were using some hardware from like 2 years previous. It was, yeah. Where's this show? The ISS2? What show? Finally a use for water cooling phones. Not only is it waterproof, they encourage you to throw it in the water from time to time to cool it down. Give it a bath. Help your phone stay cool. Yeah, you and I are a little different. Saren Blue says, I have no interest in new phone tech. Current phone is a Samsung J7. I don't remember the J line. I've had it for 4 years. I've had an S4 for years before that. If it has a removable battery, I can swap, and an SD slot, I don't give a flip. Yeah, totally fair. Like, to each their own. I actually enjoy phone technology. I would say the hard bit now is that they've all become glass slabs. And so how do you differentiate one slab from the next? Mediocre speed improvements and camera improvements are not enough to do anything to excite me. And I think that's why a lot of them are looking towards this foldable tech, but you can't have foldable tech that comes at the expense of actual productivity, which most foldable tech does today. Although the Oppo, is that how you pronounce it? There's an Oppo one that's a little bit less tall, a little bit wider than the Samsung Galaxy Fold 3. Getting late. Yeah. Oh God, I only use my phone for talking. I can't remember the last time I actually talked on my phone. Oh, Logan, where are you? It looks like you're in space. Yeah, why not? Hang on. Oh no, that is the wide camera. Yeah, this is Logan. This is station 204. This is the set for tomorrow. Nathan, the rotating LG phone. Well, LG doesn't do phones anymore, so womp womp. We're done with LG. James Webb. Yeah, so James Webb, going back to space stuff. James Webb launching December 25th at, 4:30 a.m. Pacific time, 4:30-ish, 7:30-ish a.m. Eastern time, for 344 single points of failure, and I don't think that includes the launch. Yep, that's... Brad says, ironically, I use my phone for talking, but usually in apps like Teams and Marco Polo. Yeah, I guess. I have used, I did use, well, no, I didn't use my phone for that. I was going to say I used it for, a YouTube live thing, but didn't do that. Oh, my God, the Motorola Droid. Oh, yeah, Discord. That's the other thing I use on my phones and my tablets. Actually, I think I use Discord more on my tablets than my phones. But yeah. This is great. Brad says, points of failure, new band name. That's great. I love it. Yeah, so Andrew says it's kind of sad. I always enjoyed LG phones. Yeah, I think the market's just too saturated right now. Everyone's building a phone and they're all slabs. So what can you do? What can you do that's different? How can you be set apart? Apple has done their thing. And they've got a closed ecosystem. So how are you going to get into that? Well, you're not. So that leaves you with Android. So unless you build a whole other operating system, and I don't know, Windows Phone maybe? That's not going to be a thing. Let's see if we can get this. Oh, 17%. That's enough to power it up. I know. I actually liked Windows Phone. I think I was never a fan of Ballmer. I think if he didn't have his fingers in it and they were smart about it and didn't rush it to market and didn't force developers to do stupid things, I think it actually could have been a real contender. It could have actually overtaken Android. But they were, yeah. Oh, here's another technology project we haven't talked about for a long time. You guys remember Google Wave? Remember that? That was going to change our communications forever. In a way, it did. It turned into Slack, right? I actually really liked Wave. I prefer Slack. I can't use Slack because of Company X, but yeah. Dylan says, I'm surprised that phones haven't suffered much from the chip shortage. They absolutely have. Try getting an iPhone right now. Like, try getting many different phones right now. You're going to be hard pressed. I was actually looking for a. I'm going to show my hand, but it's fine. I was looking for a Pixel 6 Pro today, and you can't find them. You can get them online delivered, but like, no stores have them. Yeah, Logan, I got one. Took 3 weeks, but you used to be able to get them like in real time. Well, by this time at least, right? You walk into an Apple store and just grab them. You can't grab a laptop. Like most things in an Apple store have delays. There's a Swedish band named Single Point of Failure. That's great. You know what? If I end up doing a live show for James Webb, I will see if I can't play that. Yeah, so I wanted to get a PlayStation 5 and a Xbox Series X. And I was able to get the PlayStation 5 because I got lucky. I refuse to pay scalping prices for this stuff. Absolutely refuse. I will not feed that market. So I've got to be able to get it at, I'll pay cost. Like, I'll pay list price for it. That's fine. But I'm not going to pay scalping prices for it. So I've been trying to get an Xbox for a while now. And there was a drop at Walmart not that long ago, and I thought I was going to get it, but no, I missed that too. Oh yeah, cars are hit too. Congratulations on your new car, Zeke. What'd you get? Ooh, this is a really great question. Let's bring this to space. And this question is for the entire chat room and everyone watching. And if you're watching on demand and you made it this far, A, I'm sorry, but B, let me know. I want to know what you think too. The question is, what is your first space is cool memory? I was 5 years old. My parents freaked me out by pointing out a passing satellite in the sky one night. They didn't tell me what a satellite was, just yelled and pointed. For me, the first memories of space being cool for me were the space shuttle. I remember sitting at home and watching on CNN, I think it was, the very first space shuttle launch. I vaguely remember it. I was very young at the time, but I remember it. And it was so cool looking. It was like nothing I had ever seen. There was a certain excitement. And I remember my parents bought me die-cast space shuttle models. I was playing with that. Yeah, that was my first really cool space moment, was the space shuttle, which is funny because I'm actually in we needed to retire the space shuttle camp, but it doesn't mean it wasn't cool. So Andrew says, shuttle launches were my first memories. Ika says, Apollo launches live on TV. That's got to be amazing. I can only imagine what that was like. Nathan says, I don't really remember, but my parents took me outside and showed me the International Space Station going through the night sky, told me there was people up in there, and I never looked back. That was when Nathan was 6. So Nathan is younger than I am then by a large factor. Robert says, I was 12. I watched the last shuttle launch live on NASA TV. Oh, God. You guys are making me feel old. It was amazing. Lost interest till I saw rockets landing. Now love anything and everything space. Oh, so that is interesting because I fell in love with space with the space shuttle, and then I kind of fell out of love with space, kind of in like the high school era, and I didn't really fall back into love with space until the shuttle program was ending, and I was starting Space Vidcast. Logan says, when I was in 6th grade, I went to the West Virginia Space Center and had a mock console, and that made me want to go into space stuff. And now I'm applying for a computer engineering college to work on. Oh, that's really cool. That's really awesome. What do I feel about Company X overtaking the shuttle launch numbers coming up next month? Oh, I hadn't even realized that was a thing, so I have no feeling. I didn't know that was happening. That's really cool, actually. That's really cool. Dylan says, my first recallable memory was watching Arabsat 6A launch on a Falcon Heavy in person. In person. I've never seen a Falcon Heavy in person. I did have an opportunity to see Falcon 9 in person, which was pretty cool. I've seen a Delta 4, a Falcon 9. I've seen the space shuttle numerous times. I jinx the Delta Heavy. So I have been to the Cape so many times when a Heavy was supposed to launch that week. And every time that Heavy is supposed to launch, when I'm there, it gets scrubbed. Every time. Guaranteed. I've never seen a Delta 4 Heavy launch. Half a dozen times this has happened to me. Andrew says, it's cool, but what really got me into space stuff was learning about SpaceX landing first stage boosters. I'm 39, by the way. Thank you for making me feel less old. I appreciate that. Jared says, a book about space I got from my grandparents. The book stated that Saturn had 17 moons. Now date the book. Well, I might be able to. No, it's going to take too much work to figure that out. But that's fun. Marty the Martian says, watching Apollo 11 in school as a 6-year-old. This is funny. I so wanted to be an astronaut, but back then only Air Force pilots were considered. I was obviously queerest of the queer, so that was out. But not anymore. Now, as long as you're okay only going into suborbital space, if you just want to go to space, the price of those tickets will come down to a reasonable level in not too long. So I actually did not know this. Andrew says, I guess there's supposed to be up to 5 Heavy launches next year. Neat. Logan, remember when the Delta 4 Heavy scrubbed for half a year? Yes. And remember how it would scrub and it would be scrubbed for a month or two and then they'd be like, okay, we're ready to go. Well, when they were ready to go, I was also then showing up at the Cape and they would roll it out and it was glorious. And I'm like, I get to see a Delta 4 Heavy finally. And then they would scrub again. And then I would leave. They would go and repair the vehicle, took a month or two again, and I would just so happen to come back and they're like, oh, we're ready to go. And so at the end of my trip, they roll the thing out and they would scrub again and rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Nathan, I've never seen a launch in person. I want to so much, just never really got the chance. I do recommend it if you can. Cameras cannot capture the majesty of any of these vehicles. It's crazy how bright the fire is off the back end of a rocket engine. It's like a miniature sun rising. At night, it illuminates everything as if it is a sun. And during the day, it is so bright, it's like looking at the sun. I know you will be at a loss of words for that experience, especially when the sound hits you. The closer you can get, obviously, the better. Logan says, I still want to be an astronaut, but I'm 6'7" and cannot fit. That may not be the case for too much longer. I think it is the case right now, but how tall was Mike Massasine? Oh, he's 6'3". He's still pretty tall. I think he's as tall as you can get, though, right? 6'3". Maddie said, I saw an article in a magazine showing how they were going to build the space station Freedom in a chiropractor waiting for my father while he was having a session. That's hilarious. Let's see here. Wait, hold up. This is an amazing story. Dylan got accidentally invited to the SpaceX VIP party after wearing one of their sweatshirts in the airport on the way for SDP-2. We watched from OSB-2 next to the vehicle assembly building. Fate just decided that would happen. That's really how do you get accidentally invited to a SpaceX VIP party? How can I get accidentally invited to a SpaceX VIP party? I've never been to a SpaceX VIP party. Oh, you know what? That's one I've not seen. Robert says the only rocket I've ever seen in person is Electron. I'd love to see a Falcon 9 or even Delta launch one day. I would love to see an Electron. That'd be really cool. Andrew says that's a fantastic party. And actually, you know what? We missed the car. There was an answer to the car. Zeke. Here we go. Zeke got a 2022 Hyundai Elantra N. I don't know what the N stands for. It's kind of like the TCL phone. It's got way too many letters and numbers in it. It's in light blue. Probably your last petrol car, the way things are going. So I went all out. I'm a big fan of Tesla. I'm required to, though. Ha. Loopy says, I know a lot of people who've worn SpaceX shirts near the gate to the Air Force Base. You mean the Space Force Base. And the guards think they're going to work. Yeah, but no, because no. Oh my God. Andrew, the Electron launch pad is gorgeous. Arguably one of the most beautiful launch pads in the world. I wish they had a flying drone that was doing a sweeping shot at liftoff over that cliff, right? Wouldn't that be incredible? Oh my God, that would be so amazing. Marty wants to know how you build a space station Freedom in a chiropractor's waiting room. Lots of Lego parts. Dylan says, this is the VIP SpaceX party. It was the weirdest 24 hours I've ever had. A friend of Gwen Shotwell's was in the airport and we just got kind of thrown into it. That's amazing. Oh, Loopy, they're like, did you forget your badge? And they're like, no, I'm just a nerd. Yeah, you don't approach, no, okay, space nerds, don't approach the Space Force base. You can't get in. It's a military base. You're not getting on base. That's not how this works. Stay away from the military base, people. Have there ever been any 360-degree camera sent up into space? At least for a little bit. I love to see the views in VR. I don't know the answer to that. I feel like the answer is yes. I think NASA has some stuff that they did. And I want to say that it was from what I saw, I wasn't compelled. But I'm still not super compelled by that technology in general. Yeah, so there is public viewing outside the South Gate, but it's not next to the gate. It's well clear of the gate. Well clear of the gate. There's a texture change in the road you should never hit. I'm just saying, because it's the viewing area, and then you've got the badging office, and then you have the gate. If you've passed the badging office... I'm not sold on VR. AR maybe, but VR, I don't know. They've got to figure out the hardware. The hardware is just not. You look like a fool. I haven't seen a compelling use case for it yet. I don't know. It's not my thing. I mean, neat for a niche thing, but I don't view it as the future. AR, potentially. If you can build that into glasses that don't look like Google Glass, yeah, maybe. Brad says, I think I'm getting a Quest 2 for Christmas. Okay. It's just... Maybe there's a use case I'm not seeing it, but like Nathan. Nathan, well played. Nathan says, "Joke's on you. I already look like a fool." Ah, you guys are amazing. Harry says, "Yes, smart glasses, please." Yeah, absolutely. Especially now that I need reading glasses. Transition. I don't know if they could even do it, but like some transition smart glasses would be great, so I could actually read and like look up. Logan, no. So Logan says Quest 2 is so good and the use case is VR chat and gaming. VR chat is a poor substitute for actual real life engagement. So especially this whole meta thing, I don't buy it. Maybe I'm just too old and fuddy-duddy, but like just go out and talk to people instead. You don't need to do it in VR. Don't do it in VR. I would argue it's way better to just talk to people in person. Humans make connections with other humans that way. Gaming, I could see gaming. I understand, like, hard to argue with you on that one. You still look like a fool when you're doing it, but like I get it. I get gaming. Robert, I would die for real AR glasses that just look normal. I feel like there are a lot of companies working on it, but I think that's a big ask, right? That's a lot of technology in a very small space. Yeah. VR with a treadmill thing can be good exercise. I feel like that could be dangerous too. Do I remember Google Glass? Yeah, oh yeah. I have a picture of me sitting next to Bill Nye, and we're both wearing Google Glass on the air. We were doing the it was a Kickstarter campaign for I don't remember, but yeah, I had mine in orange. I remember you had to go to this special Google Glass pickup thing, and they like showed you how to use it, and it was a whole big experience. It was really cool. Nathan says, "No, I'm not sold on the meta thing, and I'm 20. I don't buy it. Also, I refuse to like anything that Facebook does." Yeah, I mean, I actually jumped off of Facebook when they outed me before I was ready. They did some pretty not great things for me. I don't want to I don't want to be so dramatic as to say that they put my life in danger, because I don't know that they did. I don't think they did. But like, I could see where it could. And they didn't care. They didn't care at all. So Brad says, "I'm interested in getting this for VR and mostly curious about the user experience." I am curious about the user experience. I think that is interesting. Okay, Loopy, I'll say this is an interesting use case I hadn't considered. VR chat is great for people who have dysphoria or want to see and present themselves how they want to be seen when it's not safe to do so publicly. Okay, that's fair. And that resonates, especially when you're in the murky middle, right? I remember, I started transition in 2019. It's now, almost 2022, but it's only been, until fairly recently that I looked like this. I mean, I jumped off the air for effectively a couple of years. I remember when we were in a sticky situation and I needed to jump back on the air. People were emailing me, asking me if everything was okay. They thought maybe I was sick because I changed so much, and I hadn't told them that I was transitioning yet. And so I get that. I do understand that. But these are very small use cases. These are not mass. Like, yeah, that is a good, like, you can find a small number of very compelling use cases for VR, but they're very small numbers of use cases. They're not like you talk about your mobile phone. I can find a use case for almost anyone on the planet for that. You talk about AR, same thing. I can find use cases that are quite dramatically change your world with AR. VR, not as much. Not to say there's no use cases, just not as much. Yeah, Andrew, metaverse was a long thing long before Facebook. Second Life has been around for 16 years. I know, but like, I can't remember the last time I logged into Second Life. I think I logged in once to be like, what's this? I went, this doesn't impact me, and I moved on. If it's been around for 16 years, I can't tell you I can't tell you anything useful that I've done with Second Life, personally. Maybe it's just me. I'm backed up on chat now. Ooh, Nathan, totally off topic, but I'm submitting an internship for the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in 2 weeks. I'm so nervous, but also super excited. I'll find out in a few months. I am super excited for you as well. You need to let us know if you get the internship at the laboratory. That is going to be awesome. There are, we've said on the Tomorrow Show many times, there are very few people that you ever bet against in aerospace, and JPL is one of those. Like, never bet against JPL. Anyone else, fair game. But JPL, if they come up with a crazy sky crane that's going to land something on Mars, that sky crane will probably work. Don't bet against them. The other one you don't bet against is Peter Beck. I learned this by losing $20 to Peter Beck. Yeah, Maddie, to be frank, VR does seem like a tech that's desperately looking for a problem to solve, kind of like 3D in theaters. Yeah, and there have been other great, like, this is a compelling use case. I'm too scared to be with people after domestic abuse, so online stuff is the only way for now. Okay, that's I get that. That's great. But again, these are small use cases, and that's not to say that it's not a valid use case. It's to say that it is not the same use case as something like this. I don't see it becoming mainstream. So, but that doesn't, like, Google Glass is actually still around. It's just not mainstream. And I can see that happening with VR. It's going to be a thing. It's never going to go away. Like, there is compelling stuff with VR, but not mainstream stuff. Like, I don't see a single mainstream compelling application for VR. And maybe I'm wrong. 5 years from now, I might be doing this exact same show with a VR headset on there, eating my words. I have no idea, but like, I just don't. Yeah. Andrew brings up a really, I think, a decent point. Second Life, Sensor, VR Chat, whatever Facebook makes, or Meta, those services are not for everyone, like they think it will be. They are for certain people. There are a handful of nerds that are going to love it, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but they are not for the masses. They just aren't. Brad says, ooh, broke my computer. I think VR is kind of like foldables in the sense that there's a lot to learn regarding use cases. It has potential, but it's up to developers and companies to figure it out. Maybe, or it could be a solution looking for a problem. I don't see what it's actually solving. So it could be one of those things where, much like 3D phones, they never caught up. 3D movies is a better example, right? Like, why? VR for training, sure, certainly. Again, small use case, but sure. This is where I'm kind of at. Robert says, I feel like even with gaming, if it becomes affordable, AR walls, augmented reality walls, could end up being better than the virtual reality ones. I agree. I think augmented reality has so much more potential than virtual reality. They're not even in the same league. Now, augmented reality has similar issues, but that's kind of, I can see a time when AR replaces your cell phone. I do not see a time when VR does the same thing. Loopy says VR chat is for the furries. I mean, hey, if anyone can have the community, that's fine. Again, interesting use case. That's great, but not for the masses. And that's okay too. This doesn't mean that it's a bad technology. It's just, I don't think it's going to get mass adoption, which means it will always be kind of a fringe technology, which is also fine. But that's how Google, it's hard to say, Google Glass is as well. It's there, but it's a fringe technology. Good luck finding it. And you can do some pretty cool stuff with it, but it's really hyper focused on the things that it's good at. Loopy, you're hilarious. Yeah, so this goes back to the Matrix. Just wait for a time when you could plug yourself into a game or PC or something. Actually, so that is a version. So that's where I think VR changes. Once we get to a point where you're not wearing the hardware, once you can intercept the optical nerve or just directly inject it into the brain, it's a different story at that point. There are interesting cases there, but once you can do that, that's a whole can of worms. Yeah. Yeah, whole can of worms. I do enjoy. Plus, any future where I can't be a hot cow is lame, followed by I want to be perceived as cow. But your user icon is like a dragon, right? Isn't that a dragon? So change your icon. Or is that? I'm pretty sure that's not a cow. All right, Andrew, it was great to have you. I'm probably going to sign off soon as well, although it's starting to rain even harder now, so that's not fun. Yeah, okay. I think I'm stalling. This has been fun. How long were we on? Ugh. Won't tell me. Have I been on for almost 3 hours? That's pretty cool. No, that can't be right. 2 hours. Yeah, just over 2 hours. Merry Christmas, Robert. Have a great night. Thanks for pulling the great chat. Yeah, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys had fun. Merry LGBTQ plus Christmas, everyone. Thank you, Maddie. Absolutely. Yeah, I think this was fun. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow yet. So tomorrow is when we're supposed to have the normal live show. I'm going to try to convince. I've given everyone else the day off because I'm not going to make them come in on their day off. But I'm going to try to convince Cariann to come in with me at the normal show time and not really tell anyone. And then just have a normal live show, tomorrow live show, but with Cariann. I thought that might be fun, but who knows? We'll see. But on that note, thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you guys had fun. I think I should do, going back to my Star Trek Discovery, I should do a 1 minute short of how I would have done Star Trek Discovery on this channel. But each short is a season of Star Trek Discovery. I think that would be fun. Oh, that is a really great way to end this, which is go James Webb Space Telescope, go. Absolutely, 344 points of failure. Excited to see that thing to the space.